I'm Matt.
Hey, I'm Steve.
Hey, I'm John.
This is the Sober Friends Podcast. We're here for the sober curious, the new guy, and the old timer. We're here to talk about the stuff anyone looking to live alcohol-free has to face day to day, and how we overcame those struggles. We speak for no 12-step group, but we do try to remain anonymous. You're not alone. This is the Sober Friends Podcast. Yeah, emphasis on the old timer. Speaking of that, Steve, how you doing?
Hey, I'm good, Matt. Just got off, had a great day today. Winnie and I went out for a midweek hike down at a place in East Hampton, Connecticut, here in the East Coast, and it was a beautiful day. The forecasters were saying that today might be one of the top 10 days of the year. We got out there, and this is a place I'd never been, and it was absolutely just knocked my socks off. It was just so nice, about 7 miles, so really, really nice. And then we went to Harry's for a burger and some french fries and a vanilla milkshake, and man, life is good.
I took my father-in-law there to Harry's in Colchester. So if you don't live in Connecticut, there are these little roadside places that are legendary within Connecticut. Harry's is one of those places. Yeah. I like Harry's, and I'm the only one in the family who likes it. We took my father-in-law there one time, and he said, I find that the oil at David's in down on the shore is much cleaner. They have clean oil. He would know.
He would know. Anyway, so it was a great day. I had a great day today, and
you were able to be present.
It was just a beautiful day. Like I don't do a lot of hiking on my own. Usually I'm hiking with the other guys, and today I just decided, like, I'm going to go out. I actually decided a few days ago that I was going to go out and find something to do on my own. And I want to start hiking more. And I've always used the excuse, Matt, because I hike with John and David, a couple of guys that you know. And I always use the excuse is when they can't hike because of various reasons. Well, I can't hike either because I'm fairly new to hiking and I don't trust myself out there, you know. And I just decided that I can't have that excuse anymore. I want to do more of it. Yep. And today was the first step in that. It wasn't a hard thing to do. It was an easy trail to follow, but it was the first step of me going out to somewhere where I've never been and it just was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. I can't tell you. I just gave it a thumbs up review, 5-star review on all trails, and just a really, really nice day.
This is something that you should consider if you're new and if you're in recovery and all the things you may have said to yourself, which led you down a path to drink. Do those things that might make you a little bit uncomfortable. I disagree with you that you're a new hiker. The amount of hiking you've done, and you've been doing this for a couple of years now. Yeah. And it's some pretty hard hikes, and making that, well, I can't go for a hike if my boys aren't with me. Yeah, of course you can go. Yeah,
it's not that. It's just that having the other people there. John's been a hiker his whole year, so I don't need to think. I really do. I tell people this all the time. When I go out hiking with those guys, and David too. David's a very experienced hiker. All I have to do is hike. I don't have to think. I don't have to make decisions. Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing, right? And then not that I'm incapable of making those decisions. It's just I don't have to. So I've never taken. It's like driving. It's like being in the passenger seat when somebody's driving to a place like. You sort of know how to get there, but you don't really pay attention because you're not driving the streets, you know? But anyway, yeah, I want to change that because John's knee is acting up. We were supposed to do another
stint.
Yeah, we were supposed to do another stint on the AT, and, you know, he's got some things going on at home, too, and he just decided he more or less said, I can hike, but I got to be able to get home by 3 and walk, so we won't be able to do the AT. And I just feel like I need more hiking than I can get if I have to wait for those guys. And there's nothing against those guys. We all have these things that get in the way. So anyway, beautiful day. Off topic here, but one of the beautiful things about sobriety and being old when I don't have to be in a job is to be able to say, hey, I'm going to go out and hike and be gone for 4 or 5 hours and be able to hike. You know, beautiful.
I look at this the way I look at the gym with people as well, that you might think, well, why am I going to go to the gym if I can't put 45 minutes on the treadmill? You can go for 15 minutes if that's all you have, because 15 minutes is better than 0. If you want to go somewhere where it's a moderate hike, but you just feel like you have to get out, that's doing something.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that's a perfect thing. And again, if you're not into hiking, this won't mean anything to you. But when we're hiking the Appalachian Trail, we call it the AT. So if you hear me say the AT up here or anywhere, we're doing that up in Massachusetts. And the Appalachian Trail can be kind of difficult. With the hike we had planned out was, sort of like 12 miles, almost 2,500 feet of elevation. It's a real hike. It's a real day.
It's a hike to get to the trail.
Right, and you're really working hard, and I was disappointed. Like my alcoholic self, I want to do that stuff. It's a hard hike,
right?
And when John was like, more or less, I can't do that. I'm like, I was disappointed. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna have to hike twice this week. I'll hike once then, and then we'll probably do something local Saturday.
All or nothing thinking.
It is. It absolutely is for me. It's like, and here's the last thing I'm going to say about this. It really is alcoholic behavior, because we hiked a lot last year and we haven't hiked as much this year. I had a stress fracture in my foot over the summer, took care of that, and I just wasn't in the place to hike. And as soon as I got out there, it's like that first drink. As soon as I got out there and started hiking, I want more. I want more. I want more. And this is my whole point. Like, I don't want to, this was a nice, almost 7 miles, 1,000 feet of elevation, really nice hike. Not too hard, really nice. Nope. I want 12 or 13 miles. I want 2,500 feet. I want to wake up the next day knowing that I hiked, That's my alcoholic tendencies, right? Coming into play. And I get that. And that's the nice thing about hiking with other guys, is that sometimes other guys aren't into that, and they'll say, I don't feel like doing that. And I've been that guy who's like, no, I'm not up to that hike today. We got to do something different. So, it's all good. It's a beautiful day here in Connecticut. I hike with the dog, and we just had a great time. So what's going on with you?
I heard a podcast recently where the guest was talking about happiness. And I can't remember the context of it, but what hit me was thinking about, I'll be happy when I have this. I'll be happy when I have that. And that's real alcoholic thinking. And I suffer from this. Yeah. I have been working very hard to get promoted. I'm a high achiever in my role. And I see people that I came up into leadership with who are a level or 2 or 4 ahead of me. And I think about what I will be happy when I reach that level. And it really hit me that is lousy thinking. What is it about getting there that's going to make me happier? I'm making a good living doing what I'm doing, and I'm incredibly competent doing what I'm doing. That doesn't mean that I'm going to throw ambition on the trash bin. What it means is, why can't I be happy with the role I have now? And if something better comes along, then that's great too. But it's not as though I'm a loser until I get to that level.
Yeah, the old I'll be happy when problem, which is really the way I look at this, right? It's something that I struggled with my whole life, and up to the point of when I came back into AA in 2010, and I was able to really do some solid work and try to figure out some of that. But that I'll be happy when this changes. I'll be happy when that happens. I'll be happy. If you think about all those I'll be happy whens, like, you have somewhat control over, what kind of effort you put in at work. Like you said, you're a high achiever, you're well looked at, everybody likes you, whatever it is. But you only have a certain amount of that, right? There's other people involved with that. And what I look at that is, I used to place my happiness in other people's hands, right?
Oh, yeah.
I used to do that. And I'll tell a very quick story here, is that I lost my first marriage because I was unhappy. There was nothing wrong with my first marriage, right? Now, again, I won't go through the whole story, but I was suffering from dry drunk, if you will. Okay, I don't like that, but that's what I was. I was a non-drinking alcoholic without a program, and I was not in a good place. Didn't know back then. I was like, oh man, I'm 5 years sober. Why isn't my life getting better? That's what I used to say to myself. I'm not drinking anymore. Why isn't my life getting better? And I settled on, and this is crazy. You know, I've told my daughter and my son, listen to this podcast at your own risk, because I'm very honest about it. This is, you know, I didn't have a lot of these conversations with them, and not that I'm afraid of. They're 30 and 33. I was unhappy, and I just started looking for happiness somewhere else instead of trying to figure out why I was unhappy. And I decided that the best thing for me to do would be to divorce my wife so that I could go out and find happiness elsewhere. It was, you know, and I say this, and I've told my current, I'm remarried, and I've told my current wife this. It has nothing to do with her or anything. Like, it was the most horrible, selfish decision I've ever made. Plus, it was just wrong. I mean, now today I see, like, what was I chasing? Like, you know, that happiness that I was chasing has nothing to do with other people. Today I understand that, and I don't have to worry about that as much. We all struggle with it some, but I don't worry about it as much.
I think a lot about this in terms of AA talk, that I can compare myself to other people's sobriety. Why don't I have that sense of well-being that I might see somebody in the program who I admire? Why do they have X amount of sponsees? I have none. Why are they talking about a higher power and having this immense connection, and I struggle with that? Why do they seem to have everything together, and yet I'm wringing my fingers about that? What am I doing wrong? And man, as I talk that through, what a terrible way to say that, of going to the negative of what am I doing wrong and going past all the things I'm doing well.
You know something? There's a lot of tools out there that I don't use, right? I know people who do use them. And one of the tools, if you're out there, if you're new to sobriety, even if you're not new to sobriety, if you're struggling with this, maybe you've heard this, maybe you haven't, but there's things called the gratitude list, right? Is to every day, if you're in this funk of being unhappy, wake up and start writing down everything that you're grateful for. Everything. Like, I'm grateful for my dog. I'm grateful that I have a job that allows me to go out and hike today. I'm grateful, as much as I struggle with, you know, I talk about it all the time. I'm grateful for my health. I'm so grateful for, you know, my wife, like all of these things. They're grateful for the house I live in, all those things, right? Whatever it might be, you just list those things. And I think that if you do that, if you truly do that, then you'll see that there's a lot of things to be happy and grateful about your life. Doesn't mean life's easy, Matt, right? I mean, just like getting sober, it's not easy. It's
I
not
struggle
a
with that.
Yeah, right. Life's not easy. Life will, there's really no entitlements in life. There really aren't. I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't get fired over the next guy when next time there's a downsize, right? I mean, there's no reason why, somebody close to you shouldn't get sick. Like, I get that today. I've watched enough people in my life get sick and die, and it's not I no longer say why. I'm going to tell you something. The first person I said why to was when my sister died at 45 of pancreatic cancer. I was pissed off and said why. 6 months later, I picked up a drink, and it has nothing to do with her, but I was ready to. But it was a little bit of a push. And I was pissed off, and I was like, why is my sister at 45 with 2 young children, have to die of this horrible disease, the youngest of the family, everything. Like, everything was fucked up about it, right? And I asked why, and I don't need to ask that. Like, why not? Why not? It happens to every family. It happens all over the place. So I don't ask those whys anymore. I don't think that somehow I'm being persecuted, I don't think people are out to get me, right? That's the other thing you hear. Like, nobody's out to get Steve. Nobody's out to get Matt to make my life harder. So, it's something I've learned after doing the steps and working with a sponsor and going to meetings and talking. One of the things we do, Matt, we sit in rooms with people who have a hell of a lot less than we have, right?
Oh, yeah.
You and I. Like, we both live fairly comfortable lives. We live in good communities. We have nice houses. We drive decent cars. We have good kids. And we sit in meetings with people who don't have any of that. They have no support. They have no family. And they're happy. And I take a lot out of those people. It's one of the things that I've learned is that I never discount who I might be able to learn something from. Like, oh, there's nothing I can learn from that person. Like, there's always something I can learn.
Dave B is one of the people I think of when I think of that stuff, because he no longer is married. He lives by himself. He's retired. He probably has less money. He's always looking for a border there. And he always has it together. He walks into a meeting, he's smiling, he's laughing. I'm not saying Dave's life is perfect. I'm saying he seems content with what he has. The things that he has in life feel like they're enough. And that includes his level of sobriety.
Dave is one of those guys. And Dave doesn't have a perfect life, and he's had some things. He's had some heartbreak. He's had some tough things happen in his life. And one of the things that Dave has talked about, you know this too, is that Dave is probably thinking that he has to leave Connecticut because of the financial point. It's not a cheap place to live. It's expensive, especially if you are on a very restrictive income. And I'm sure Dave doesn't want to leave Connecticut because he's been living here his whole life. Mm-hmm. This is where all his friends are. And I'm sure he knows that he can go somewhere else and make a new friendship and community, but he's not a young man. So I'm sure he doesn't want to. But Dave is willing to make that choice and make that change because he knows that it'll probably be easier from him, and that he'll probably have an easier time of it. So I know he was planning on doing it. I know it got delayed some. Part of me was happy it got delayed because I like Dave.
I'm happy to have him around.
Right, me too. I'm happy to have him around. I'm happy to see him at meetings. So I'm like, good, it got delayed for a year. Good, I get to hang out with you for another year.
It's very easy to compare against somebody like him.
Yeah.
Because when you see, he is one of these people that if you see at a meeting, you know this is going to be a good meeting, that he's going to bring good sobriety, and if he opens his mouth, there's probably nothing you're going to be able to top with what he says.
Right.
And you're going to learn something, and he's going to put you at ease. There are people like that. So there are times that I compare, and it's hard because I know some people who were sober when I got sober, and they didn't stay sober.
Right.
And they have been bouncing in and out, in and out, in and out. I saw one of those people the other day. He's wearing shorts, so I saw he had an ankle bracelet. He had some jewelry on.
Yeah, right.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's not my situation.
No, there's plenty of people out there who came in around the time I came in, well before the first time I came in 95. But even recent guys, right? There's plenty of guys out there. First of all, they don't have bracelets on because they are in prison or jail. Or they're no longer with us. So, so it's easy. We have this, for most of us, I won't say everybody, but many of us, and I include myself in that, we have this tendency to compare ourselves to the worst part, right? Like what you're looking at the people with the ankle bracelets and stuff, or you're looking at the people who have achieved more than you, and you're taking the negative on it, right? I've shared about it here before, is that I needed to appreciate what I had in my life, and it took me a long time. It took me and I've told this story when I was living in this house, and somebody came to me and said, "Hey, do you ever feel like you don't belong in this house?" And it was the first time I've ever heard anybody say those words that really went to the heart of how I felt. Like I felt like a fraud. And this was a woman who lived in a bigger and better house than me, and her husband was a PhD and taught at a seminary, and like they had a really, really nice house. And I can remember like almost jumping out of my chair saying, yes, I don't feel like I belong here. Like for my whole life, I compared the negative. I always thought, okay, well, somehow I don't belong here. Like something's wrong. And then, but today I've gotten to the point, Matt, where first of all, I realized that life is too short, man. It's one of the things I have, and it's, we've lost a lot of people, a lot of friends lately, at least I have. And it's something that it's really made me think. It's really made me think that, life is very short, no matter what age you live to. And it's really important about making sure that you appreciate the things in your life. And today I work really, really hard to do that. It's not easy. Life is not easy. I care about the little stuff less. I care about the little stuff less, and I look for the bigger things. I look for the the walk in the woods today. 7 miles. I was out there. I hiked for 3 hours. Right, not a lot of people, which is the way I like it. I don't like to be completely alone, but not a lot of people. But people to talk to, a few people here and there, and really a good time. And that's what I live for today.
I have a friend who is in her 50s, later 50s, and her husband about the same age. And he had a widowmaker heart attack a couple of weeks ago, and he survived. They were lucky enough that they insisted he go to the hospital, and they didn't think much of it. Well, preventative, go to the hospital. He was having a widowmaker heart attack. Right. If they had waited a few moments longer, he would be dead.
Right.
He is incredibly lucky to be alive. First thing I said to her is, why the hell didn't you reach out? Don't you realize there are people who would be willing to support you and just listen? And she said, well, I don't do that. I'm like, oh, okay. And I know of a peer who woke up and her husband was dead next to her. He had a heart attack just next to her. And I've been really thinking about some of that stuff when I get into my head around, I don't have those issues of people in the family who are in dire health. And it also reminds me, go get that cardio.
Yeah.
Go to the gym. Do some of this stuff less for your vanity and do it for the interior health. Because I look around at the people at the gym and I see people older than me who have rippling muscles. And I'm like, well, I don't have rippling muscles. And it bothers me when I see things on Instagram with the before and after pictures that these people get sober and they get ripped and super thin. And I don't know if I'm any thinner or fatter than I was, but I don't feel like there's been that difference there. So I think, what did I do wrong?
It's so easy to do that kind of stuff. And, these are things that I've struggled with too. And, especially the last 4 or 5 years, I've gone through so many different weight loss programs and was able to lose weight and just haven't found that thing that works, that magic bullet that keeps it off for me. So I just keep yo-yoing no matter what I do. And I've even got some peace with that. Not completely. I mean, but I've gotten some peace with that. And I'm the same way. Like I don't have to be my lowest weight where I was 4 years ago, whatever that was, where like I was high school weight, I was like that weight. Like I don't need to be there. That's too hard of a weight for me probably to keep realistically. But I do want to be at a weight where I could do hiking, right? Where I could hike. Like I get it today. I know what I want. I know what I want today. I want to be able to be in shape to go hike up in New Hampshire and go do some of those big hikes. Again, not just getting out of bed doing them without trying, but being able to be in a place where I could do a little bit of work, get in shape, and then go tackle some of those really, really big hikes where I have to be strong. I have to be able to do it. It has nothing to do with how I look. It does have a lot to do with how I feel, right? How I feel my own skin. I will tell you this, like I've watched it my whole life. Right, I've always been this chubby kid myself growing up, and fought weight my whole life. My whole life I fought it, and I would look at people who were much heavier and fatter than me, if you will, and you could just see they're really comfortable in their own skin. And I always felt like especially I would look at people and like, man, that shirt looks kind of tight on that fat guy. And like, I would never wear that shirt. Like as I get uncomfortable and get fat, I put on a bigger shirt because I just don't feel comfortable in it, right? So it's always been that for me. And I still struggle with some of that today. I still struggle with that today. But I don't let it eat at me. I don't. Because it is only one piece of my life. It's only one piece of my life. And there's so many other pieces of my life that are just absolutely, knock out of the park home runs.
In the end, these problems are about me. If I really think about it, when I think about the weight stuff, if I'm comparing myself to other people, this is also going back to I'll be happy when.
Right.
I feel less than unless I'm thin and ripped. I'm a loser. I'm not worth it.
Yeah.
If I'm at the weight I'm at now, if I'm in the physical conditioning. But when I get to that point, then I'll have reached that nirvana where everybody will accept me.
Yeah.
The same thing with the jobs is I look at other people in higher positions because I haven't moved up as fast. There must be something wrong with me. And the worst thing that I ever did is I talked to a recruiter who was like, well, you've been in that position for 10 years. People are going to look at that and be less willing to hire you. And that sent me freaking spiraling.
That's easy to do when somebody says something like that, right? And that's not a good recruiter, right? That's a recruiter who should know how to handle that type of situation.
Well, no, that company he works for is a terrible company.
Yeah.
I won't impugn them, but they're terrible.
Yeah. But listen, and I think we can struggle with that. But today, here's what I do is I look at what's important to me in my life, right? I do. I look at what's important. And am I doing well in the important things in my life, okay? And even some of those important things I still struggle with. But I'm aware that I struggle with them today. And I'm aware that I have to work on them. And I'm aware that I need to pay attention to when I start, getting into a place that's not healthy for me. Because all of those things for me, when I start going down that path, make me more susceptible to look for an easier, softer way out. Right? And to really go, something, again, I'm not happy. Maybe I should pick up a drink, or maybe I should, look somewhere else, or maybe I should do whatever it is. And the truth is, just like you said, it's all about me. Mm-hmm. It's all about me. My happiness is not derived by anybody else's viewpoint or actions, actually.
Yeah.
One of the things that people say, happiness is an inside job. I honestly believe that today. It's an inside job, not an external job. Because, like I said, I sit in rooms with people who have a lot less than me, and I just look at how relaxed and how comfortable they are. And maybe that's because they have less stress and they don't have to manage as many things. And, they don't own a $3,500 sit down mower that they have to worry about breaking down. No, really, like those simple little things, like, I had a funny thing on the trail today, go back to it, is I looked down at one point and I didn't have my Garmin watch, right? I have a watch that does all this stuff. And I always wear it when I go hiking. And I'm like, oh crap, I wonder if I lost it. I'm like, oh, maybe I took it off when I put on, bug spray and like that. So this whole point, as I'm coming back to the car, I'm looking all over to see if I've lost this thing. And I get back and I had been charging it and it was still sitting there where I was charging it, right?
I would be swirling.
Right. And it's not expensive, but a couple $100. It was a gift anyway. I didn't pay a thing for it. But I was for a while like, oh shit, I lost this watch, this. It's not that big of a deal. It really is. And I had said that to myself. It's really not that big of a deal. I do like having it, but the truth is, with all the apps and stuff on your phone, it's become a less useful tool to me than it used to be. Because almost everything that it does, I can do on my phone nowadays. But anyway, but that's one of those things, right? Like, I don't have to worry about it. I mean, other people don't have to worry about that because they don't have whatever it was probably a $250 watch. Again, I didn't buy it. My kids bought it for me for Christmas one year. But I don't want to lose it, right, for that either. But my point is I didn't. And it's something that, I have to worry about and other people don't.
I can identify. It would feel to me, this ends up becoming about me. If I was in your situation, I put the watch down in the car to charge it, but I wasn't sure. I've lost this. I have let my kids down and am irresponsible.
Yeah.
Now, I have also discovered that there are reasons that I misplace stuff. It's not that I'm irresponsible. I have ADHD.
Yeah, I think I do too, yeah.
There are times, especially under stress,
right,
that I don't remember the things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And that's how I lose things. I just can't focus under certain circumstances.
I'm going to tell you something, Matt. That was exactly my thought, right? I was going on this hike, not first time alone, first time in a while that I went somewhere new. So that same exact thing happens to me, right? So I realized that when I'm in that situation, I don't think as clearly, right? And I get a little bit more scrambled. And I realized that, and I'm like, okay, I need to really, and I one thing I learned on this trip is like when I get there, I need to sort of take a moment and sort of get organized, right? In my brain, not my physical thing, in my brain, and do it. And I thought that's the exact same thing. Like when I get a little bit under stress there, it's hard. And we're not alone with that. A lot of people struggle with that. And that's the same thing. I wouldn't feel like a failure, but I was thinking, hey, maybe the strap broke. I was trying to think, like, maybe the strap broke. Maybe I didn't put it on. Like, as I said, it was sitting where I left it. I had never put it on my wrist, so it worked out in the end. But again, one of those things that I worry about can really throw me sometimes.
Before we end, I have a question on another topic for you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who is not a member of a 12-step group, but they're traveling. And so the person decided they wanted to try an AA meeting. They're out of town. Great idea. And the person didn't get a lot from the meeting. And I asked why. The person said, because somebody shared and they just hijacked the meeting. And they asked me, what do you do in that situation? So if you're the meeting chair and somebody's decided to hijack the meeting, what would you do?
Well, if it's my regular meeting and somebody really is trying to hijack the meeting, I wouldn't stand for it, right? I don't, I'm not shy in those things.
I won't stand for no baloney.
So I would first of all, I'd listen to try to figure out if somebody's trying to hijack it. But I would always, and I've had this happen. This hasn't happened in a while in any of my meetings, but I have seen it happen before. And I have seen people take totally different, irresponsible or not irresponsible, but bad ideas on certain things. And if that happens, I immediately put my hand up and I just put my opinion out there. Like, you don't have to think like that. You don't have to do that. Like, I will crosstalk in order to try to save that meeting, to make sure that guy, your friend, doesn't leave with that. And I guess the other thing would happen if I was in that meeting and I saw a new person and I saw that happen, I would go up to that new person at the end of that meeting and say, hey, I'm sorry about this. This is not the way this meeting usually goes. Or, I would let him know that this is not the way it typically goes. The other thing is that this person probably wasn't really into it, So it may have been hard.
There's some of that.
Right. So it may have been hard for them to get something out of the meeting anyway. And maybe it wasn't as bad as they were thinking, right? So there could be some other stuff going on there too.
Yeah. I told this person that if I was the chair, I would probably mildly interrupt and say, want to make sure that we can get to everyone.
Right.
If you do have more that you want to share, I would recommend stay after the meeting, grab somebody, and have the conversation.
Yeah. If that's the problem, the person's going on too long, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a limit. And if it's a newcomer and their ass is on fire, even that I've seen it happen. Like, what you do is you cut them off gently or not so gently, depending on who the person is and how well you know them. Maybe they're just like that, and you don't have to be gentle with them. You just have to be tough with them. And then you say, hey, let's grab somebody after the meeting, and you can finish up your conversation, right? Mm-hmm. So, it's going to happen. If your friend wants AA, they'll be able to find a meeting that works for them.
They don't. They just wanted a little recovery while they were traveling, right. And it played into their mindset.
Yep.
But I also told them, McDonald's, you can go to any McDonald's, and they have a system down that the hamburger is going to taste the same no matter what McDonald's. There is no quality control in Alcoholics Anonymous. Yeah. And there are lousy meetings.
Yeah.
And I said, this is why I still go to meetings, is I want there to be good meetings for people who are new, who don't know otherwise. Because there are meetings where the people are totally out of control. And if you've got somebody and that's the only experience they have, they're going to walk out and say, AA is a joke.
Yeah.
And so I look at it now, it's my responsibility, because I don't need to take anymore, to be a good example and to maybe have a strong opinion sometimes when it makes sense for the group, because I truly believe that you need people who set a good example to show what is possible, what you can goal set against.
Yeah.
So that's where I said, I feel bad that you had that. You got a bad experience because you went to a bad meeting.
Right.
And that's not how they all are.
No. Something I know we both try to make sure that, especially new people come in and they have a good experience at meetings that we're at. I think we've done a great job at our Monday night meeting. We've had some people come in. I really do. And everybody's like, really, you made me feel comfortable. You made me feel, and that's, I feel great when I hear that. and people have come in and they're staying. And then there's a young guy, his name happened to be Matt also. New guy's been coming to our Friday night meeting, I guess, for like 3 weeks now. And I've been talking to him. I talk to every new person who comes in. If they want to talk, I'll talk with them. Sometimes they don't want to talk. And he's been willing to talk to me, so I'll see him. And he just texted me tonight. He must have got my number for somebody else. And he says, hey, I just want to let you know, we've been talking about sponsorship. And I told him, I had a long discussion with him last week. I'm like, I'm not shopping for a sponsee. First of all, I'm not shopping for a sponsee. I'll do whatever you need. If you need help, I'll help you. But you need to get a sponsor. Like, you need to get one. You need to find somebody. Here's what you should do. Go to Friday night. He's talking about going to the Thursday night meeting. I'm like, those 2 meetings, you can come out of there with a sponsor. Right. You can come out of there with a sponsor. Right. You just got to find. And he texted me today. Said, hey, I just want to let you know I found the sponsor. He told me who it was. I know this person. I'm like, I think it's a great choice, and thanks for keeping it. And he said to me, thanks for being so supportive. I mean, that message right there, right, that message is why I go to meetings. And all I did was talk to this guy. That's all I did. Talk to him 10 minutes before the meeting, talk to him after the meeting a little bit, and then try to guide him, like, hey, you need to do this. And hopefully, he's a young guy. Hopefully, he'll be able to stick around and get some good sobriety. So
empathy and kindness go a long way.
They really.
That you can make an impact.
They really do. Absolutely. Wasn't one of my strong points for a long time, especially when I was a dry drunk. And I still could be a prick once in a while. But I do work on that a lot harder. I mean, I am much more compassionate and much more empathetic than I ever used to be.
Ash Butters told me I'm the nicest person on Instagram Sobriety. And I said, you have no idea what a prick I am.
Right.
You have no idea how awful I could be if I chose to be.
Yeah. I lived that double life my whole life. I still have cousins. I don't have a lot of aunts still living. They just thought I was the cat's meow. They did. Because that's what I showed them. Right? When I was in their presence, that's what I showed them that. And they had no clue. And they still don't have any clue. I have some cousins, especially on my mom's side. Cousins on my father's side, they know. We hung out, we drank together, we partied together. But on my mom's side, like, they still, oh my God, yeah, listen, And I'm like, I even told them, like, you don't get the whole picture. Trust me, you don't see the thank you, but you don't see the whole picture.
Right.
Anyway.
And I feel better. I feel better being nice and empathetic and helpful to other people.
Oh, me too.
I do.
Me too.
Well, we'd love to hear what your feedback is on things like this. Do you identify with, I'll be happy when I get to a certain point? Are you all or nothing of, yeah, I'm not going to go on that hike unless I can reach the Appalachian Trail and do a good 15 miles. Otherwise, it's just not worth my time. You can reach us at our website, soberfriendspod.com. While you're there, join the mailing list so that we can stay in touch. Why don't you subscribe to the Instagram channel at SoberFriendsPod. Steve, thanks for another great show.
Hey, Matt, thank you.
And we'll see everybody next week. Bye, everybody. You made it this far into the podcast. That tells me you're a pretty big fan. If you like what we do and you find value in the podcast, consider a donation at buymeacoffee.com/SoberFriendsPod. Your donation keeps us on the air to help out the new guy and helps us defray some of our costs. If you find value in our podcast, please consider a donation at buymeacoffee.com/SoberFriendsPod.